No one's ever said, man, I'm just too strong. I got to get weaker. Man, I wish I wasn't this strong. Like, no, strength is always a strength. Like strength is, what is it, Mark Bell? Strength is never a weakness. One of those, like, so that's what I mean by a platform of strength, and everything can be built from that. And I truly do believe that.
Wits and Weights community, welcome to another episode of the Wits and Weights podcast. Today is a very special one because I'm joined by Andrew Romeo, who's a longtime coach of mine, as well as a friend and fellow entrepreneur. He owns Romeo Athletics here in Connecticut, the gym that I joined 12 years ago, where I first touched a barbell. I first learned the big lifts. I came to understand what strength was all about. So I have him to thank for introducing me to the world of lifting, which is saying a lot. If you've ever wondered how to make fitness a core part of your identity, how to balance the demanding roles of family, work, and life, or how to make strength training work for you at any age, we've got you covered today. From Andrew's concept of a platform of strength to making fitness fun to the use of blood work and supplements, Andrew will change the way you think about health and fitness. Andrew Romeo is a man with a lifelong passion for fitness and helping people achieve their health and wellness goals. A husband and father first and foremost, he is the founder and CEO of Romeo Athletics, the premier personal training and group fitness facility in Northern Connecticut, now with locations in both Enfield and Avon. He's an entrepreneur who provides training and mentorship that works for each individual. And in my opinion, Andrew embodies an ethos of high integrity, self-improvement, and excellence. And he's always willing to go the extra mile to bring people up and help them succeed. Andrew, man, I can't believe that I haven't had you on the show before, but there's no time like the present.
100%. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me, Philip. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man, this is going to be a lot of fun. We haven't caught up in a while. So just, what's been going on with the gym, the wife, the kids, with Ethos, life in general?
Yeah, I mean, life is busy. School is kicked back off, which is great because now the kids can go to school and they're not home all day, which is awesome. More for Kate, my wife, than myself. Gyms are busy. I'm between both gyms every day. I'm down in Avon Monday, Wednesday, Friday. That's where most of my training happens. I'm up in Enfield Tuesday, Thursdays. I don't have too big of a role there anymore. Don't get me wrong, I'm still involved with a lot of stuff. I just don't coach that many people.
You're the big dog, man. It's a growing business,
It is what it is. And
Yeah.
then, as you mentioned, we have another business, Ethos, medical aesthetics and wellness. So that's also in Avon too. So we got a lot going on. It's all good stuff. It's fun. And to your point in the intro, which I appreciate, the intro is very nice. Thank you. I'm always lifting. I'm always in the gym. I try to live, breathe, and eat what I preach. So I'm always in there.
Yeah, I mean, for the listener, I don't know. When I met Andrew right from the beginning, he's the kind of guy that just is unassuming about things. You go in, he's like all about lifting, just supernatural. He gets clients in the door, and before you know, they sign up. They're not even thinking about it because they're like, this guy knows what he's talking about, and I just want to get fit. So I was there right early on, man, when you were, in that small box and then you started to expand. So anyway, I wanted to paint a picture of the listener for who you are. We talked about your role as a father and husband, right?
Yes.
We also know you're busy with the extra location now. So how do you balance those roles? I mean, being an entrepreneur, being a coach, all of it.
It's interesting, right? Because people talk about like a life work balance. And unfortunately, being an entrepreneur, I don't really believe in a life work balance. It all just kind of like weaves together all of the time. I've been really, really fortunate with my life. When we started the gym, when you joined, my wife was a high school English teacher and she could kind of like float the bills while I grew the gym. And then we got to a point where she could come into the gym and we could do it together. So her and I work together daily. And then in addition to that, my kids are in the gym daily. So it's a really cool way for my kids to grow up where they view fitness, they view strength as just kind of like part of what we do. It's just who we are. We're not, I'm not doing it just to be big and strong and stuff like that. It's, hey, we lift weights because that's kind of what's expected. It's fun. It's something that like you can get some mental clarity from, makes you feel better. And that's really the model that I try to portray to them. But like work wise, I mean, I'm always working, dude. I mean, I'm sure you're similar where it's the middle of the night, you have thoughts going off, you're taking notes, you're
For
doing
sure.
stuff. And I embrace it. I like that hustle. Like I wouldn't have it any other way.
I love that answer, right? Because it's true. A lot of people would say, well, I have to schedule it in, or I have to keep this and this separate, or I have to make sure I focus on this and then this. And you're like, look, it's just all my life. Like it is life. A lot of us saw that during the pandemic, right? We started working from home. People have office jobs, and now it started to like intertwine with your family a little bit. And you're like, wait a minute, it's kind of nice to be able to like take them to an appointment or this and that in the middle of the workday, but still get my work done.
100%.
it's more natural, So that's cool. I mean, you're a super down to earth guy, and yet are able to handle all of these. You're always willing to help people. So, what would you say are your core values and principles behind, giving you this opportunity, I guess, that you have now to change people's lives and also your own kids in the process?
Sure. I mean, the biggest one is integrity, all the way through and through. I practice what I preach. I'm never gonna suggest someone do something that I wouldn't do. And then hard work and dedication. Like everything in life, if you work hard, you're dedicated, and you act with integrity, those three things are going to carry you through, and a lot of good stuff is going to come from that. And like, to your point of when you were introducing me, people feel that, people see that, and that's how
Mhm.
people trust you. Where I'm not trying to take people's money just to take their money. I'm trying to help them. Yes, I need
Yeah.
to get paid, but like, I am honestly, I want to see everybody win. I mean, you talk about the abundance for scarcity mindsets. I am so far on the abundance side of anybody that's near me in my circle. I just want you to win. I just
Yeah.
want us all to win.
Yeah, I love that integrity. I mean, so again, for the listener, I can walk into your facility, and if we have to figure out a problem, it's not this long drawn out discussion. It's like, let's go to the whiteboard and just figure it out. Let's just do it.
Yep.
And then trust people that they'll get the job done, which I could definitely relate to. And people listening too, because people always ask, what is the magic to consistency? And it's like, just do it, get the
Yeah.
result. And then you tend to motivate yourself that way. Um,
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, there is no magic to like
yeah.
motivation, right? Or
Right.
consistency. Like, and all the like, if we get into the gym, when you get into the gym, I'm fortunate I work in gyms. I
Yeah.
get to lift weights all the time. It's just part of my life. But like, as you said, just show up and do it.
Yeah. Well, so speaking of that is part of your life. At some point, it had to start, right?
Yes.
And and become a habit or a routine. And maybe it was just supernatural for you when you were young. But tell us how that happened and how people who maybe aren't fit into fitness right now can get that same sense of identity. Because I'm a big fan now of like saying like we're all athletes. We could all be athletes. We just have to take on that identity and then let our actions serve that. So what do you think?
So I'll start on the second side first because it's easier than how I started.
Okay.
So the second side is really finding like your why. Why do you want it? Like, hey, I want to lose all this weight. Why do you want to lose that weight? Because that's what your motivating factor is going to be, and that's what you can start identifying as. And like, you don't need to be a rock star to get started. Like, there's no like
Mhm.
start where you're going to start, and that's okay. Hey, I can't walk 50 feet without taking a break. Okay, we're going to walk 45 feet, and then tomorrow 47, then 50, and then whatever it is, start wherever you're going to start. Don't be intimidated because everybody comes into the gym and they think people are watching them. They
Mhm.
think people are judging them. They think people like no one cares. Honestly, most of the time people aren't watching you, don't even notice. But if
Mhm.
they are, at least in my facilities, they're supportive and they're like, "That's great, good for you. Thank you for like doing this for yourself." For me, where my identity with fitness and strength training came from, I've been in gyms, dude, my whole life. Really have been. Like, I was the weirdo where we would go to like whatever the version of Target was 30 years ago, and I would like go to
Kmart,
the weight section
Kmart or
and be like,
something.
"I want those dumbbells." My parents
Yeah.
would be like, "What? You want dumbbells?"
Yeah.
So I've been in and out of gyms since I've been literally like lifting weights since I've been 12, and I pretty much haven't stopped. The variations of what I've done has changed, which is a natural progression.
Mhm.
Everything from bodybuilding to powerlifting to Olympic lifting to CrossFit to functional training. It's like it's all blended together, and which is great because it's just built my toolbox of tools I can pull from and use. But I identified as physical fitness was something that I enjoyed from a small age. I've always enjoyed training. I've always recognized that the harder I work, the better I do, and I don't mind putting in the work to get the result I want.
Yeah. Yeah, and your kids are going to see like right off the bat, they're going to be in that culture, which is really nice. Like I'm glad that my daughters can see that I work out and in a way that it's an enjoyable thing, not this forced thing, just to quote unquote lose weight or sweat it off or whatever. And I remember coming into your gym the first time. I think I had tried another CrossFit gym earlier in the week and it was too far away and I think I puked and I passed out on the bed, right? That first time. And then I came to your place and you had a little bit of a more of a like, let's really understand where you are now. Let's not just throw
Yeah,
you into a crazy wad.
yeah,
And I don't know what I squatted the first day, but I'm sure it was probably the empty bars. It doesn't
yeah,
matter
something
because
like that.
everybody's got to start, right?
Mhm.
So how has your relationship with fitness evolved? You mentioned all the different things and how they blended together. Have you left things behind have you incorporated just a new perspective on those? Like CrossFit, for example, is a big one that I always think about because it's really changed over the years. Like what are your big priorities now? What have you maybe focused less on now as well?
Cool. So what I focus on now, I have like two mandatory lifting days a week. I have a
Mhm.
mandatory lower body day and a mandatory upper body day. I gotta get them in. It doesn't matter what day of the week it happens; they gotta happen. And when I say that, it's the big lifts. So I'm squatting, I'm pulling, I'm benching, I'm pressing, I'm doing pull-ups, chin-ups, RDLing, all that fun stuff.
Mhm.
Um, what hormonally big muscle groups, energy expenditure, metabolism, super important. That's what I do now. Do I lift other days a week? Sure. I might lift 3 or 4 days a week. The other days are more auxiliary days, so maybe I'm hitting more shoulders or back or fun things like that. My cardio kind of comes in the form of jujitsu. I roll jujitsu 3 days a week, so that's my
Nice.
cardio. Things that I have left in the past, I don't really. So I don't Olympic lift anymore. It
Mhm.
doesn't serve me. It doesn't deliver. It's highly technical, and I had a lot of injuries that came from it. I enjoyed the sport of it. I was relatively good at it. I was pretty strong, but you got to put a lot of time and dedication. I was
Yeah, it's a
training for
skill, sure.
3 hours of clip, and so much of it is skill development. How am I going to
Yeah.
snatch? How am I like? So time and place, it was great. I learned a lot. I still carry some of that. I just got done training a high school kid, high school athlete, and I teach. One of the first movements he did today was a full clean. So he cleaned, then he deadlifted. And the clean serves as like almost a warm up for his deadlift. So
Sure.
he's getting
Yeah.
some power, some getting explosiveness, and then we move into his deadlift. Other movements, like so, I probably haven't CrossFitted myself personally since 2012. It just I here's my deal. I don't like quantifying success when you compare it to other people.
Mhm.
Hey, you beat me by 5 seconds. That would eat me up. And I'd be like, God damn it, how did he beat me by 5 seconds? It has nothing to do. Your performance has nothing to do with me. Why am I comparing? And so after a while, it starts like wearing down at you. Where fitness isn't a competition.
Yeah.
Fitness isn't about anybody else other than yourself. And when you start comparing yourself to other people, you're gonna burn out. It's not gonna last. Plus, there's a lot of other things with CrossFit I didn't like. But I mean, there's just a lot of dangerous aspects of movements that I don't think are necessarily necessary. You don't need to be snatching at high speeds repeatedly. You don't need to be climbing ropes. If you want to, that's cool. Go do it. I appreciate all movement. I just personally moved away from
Yeah.
that.
I get it.
And like if that's someone's thing, they're like, I love it. This is what I do. Good for you. The
Yep.
same way I feel about walking. I love to walk. Great. I mean, is it going to be everything you need? No.
Yeah.
Can you do better? Yes. But is it better than nothing? 100%.
Yep.
So like that's kind of where I've fallen in with that. Other things I left behind, honestly, like I pretty much 100% trap bar deadlift at this point. Puts me in
Okay.
a better
Interesting.
position. Back feels better. I haven't, knock on wood, right? I say this. I haven't hurt my back in years since I trap bar deadlifted. I have more of an in between squat between high bar, low bar. Whereas when I was Olympic lifter, I high barred. Got hurt more often high bar. I put more pressure on my knees, more pressure on my lower back. I moved that bar to a low bar kind of combo. It's more hammies, glutes, less pressure on my back, less pressure on my knees. Typically, I bench using the Kabuki bar. That's neutral grip. So I feel better. I feel
Oh yeah,
stronger
the
in
multi
it.
grip. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, like that bar puts my shoulders in better positions. You got to remember, as I said, I've been lifting since I've been 12. I'm 38. My joints got a lot of wear and tear on them. I might be strong, but like I gotta be selective of what I do.
I think everything you just said is like the master class in how people want to think about as they age, preventing injury, evolving with your body, right? Because I haven't been in it nearly as long as you, but I have the age factor. So being
Yeah.
42, and I just had rotator cuff surgery. And before I had that, though, I'd moved to the neutral grip bench, and you start listening to your body more and more, right, as you
Yes.
age. And don't let anyone tell you that this is the one right thing. Even the trap bar, I know there's like, for example, the starting strength community, there's a whole like hard line against it.
Hmm.
And the rest of us are kind of like more in this, okay, that's a little bit dogmatic.
Sure.
Let's do what works for you. And you're right. I've seen it be successful with for a ton of people. So if you had to you said 2 days are your like heavy lifting days. If you had to break down the simplest, I'll call it efficient maybe, or effective way that most people getting started would make the best use of their time, right?
Okay.
They don't know what they like yet. It's not for, competitions, not anything. It's just for general health and fitness. What would be the most effective approach? Principle wise, you don't have to give exact programming.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
So starting strength is a good job. It's a linear progression.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's you said you're starting, right? So you are a novice athlete. You do not need to do anything fancy. If you do fancy things, you're actually just shortchanging your results. It's a basic linear progression. You're gonna squat. You're gonna deadlift. You are going to do pull-ups or your variation or pull down. You're gonna do chin-ups or a chin pull down. You're gonna bench. You're gonna shoulder press. And we can throw some stuff in at the end, but it's every week just stepping up, stepping up, stepping up, until that progression no longer works. For some people, it might be 10 weeks. Some people, it might be 20 weeks.
Mhm.
But if you've never done a basic linear progression, you should, I don't care what your training age is, go back and do it because you're going to get all that little strength out from where you started. Most of the time, it's fives. I mean, having people do 3 sets of 5. So when you talk about that, hey, okay, what's that? That's myofibrillar hypertrophy. Big word. Little myofibulars in your muscles are getting bigger. You're getting stronger. It's amazing, right? And then
Mhm.
after you've done that, like so typically people that I've worked with for a while, they've gone through the linear progressions. We'll do a periodized approach of sarcoplasmic hypertrophy, then myofibrillar hypertrophy, and then you go into neuromuscular efficiency. For people that don't know what I'm saying, we're getting you big, we're getting you strong, and then we're testing your nervous system to see how strong you are, and then we rinse and repeat it over and over and over again.
It's fun. Yeah.
Exactly, and like a lot, I know you've done a lot of weight gains, weight cuts, weight gains. Then you start mirroring that in with your phase of lifting, and amazing things happen. Right?
Yeah.
You get really, really strong, or you get really, really cut up. It's all fun stuff. And sorry
It's
for if I
fun.
went too high level for a lot
No,
of the
no,
listeners.
no, no. No. The listener loves that. I mean, we sometimes get in way more detail than that.
Okay.
maybe maybe I shouldn't, but sometimes we do. So yeah. So periodization, we talk about that in nutrition, like you mentioned. And you're basically saying the same for lifting. That keep it super simple, increase the load initially, and then eventually you could add more of the fun stuff. And you don't even need to work out that many days a week, right? 3.
3 days a week, two to
Yeah.
3 days a week is
Yeah.
all you need. Like that's a big misconception, right? I need to do more. I need to do more. Like you. I know this is kind of weird, but you only get stronger while you rest. You got to
Yeah.
earn your rest, but you only get
Yep.
stronger while you rest.
That's right. So now, what about making it fun for people, right? Because that's the other aspect I know is big for you, especially when you want people to stick with it. You're a trainer, you've got the interests of both helping people get stronger, but also wanting to see them succeed and not just leave after a week or two. And you also like helping children too
Yes.
with their movement. I mean, even my kids did a couple of your classes there, and they had a lot of fun. So
Yeah.
we don't want it something to be something we feel like we have to do. How do you make this fun and effective for people?
So a lot of the training we do now is semi-private training or private training. And I think the fun or stickiness that comes from what we do is the interpersonal connections, the trust factor. Hey, I know what you're doing. I know where we need to be. I know how we need to do it. And then the fact of like a working professional, anybody that's listening, when you come in, you don't have to think anymore. I got you. Don't worry. Like I know your weight progressions. I know the movements we need to be doing today. And like also, how are you feeling? Are you tired? Are you hungover? Are you whatever you're at? I will take care of that and make sure that today's workout is the best workout we can have. So that's kind of on the adult side what we do. On the kid side, well, we play games, we have fun, we try to make it more fun because honestly, that's how it should be for kids. Unless like if you want like the kid that I was just training as a high school athlete, he has a set goal. He's on a linear progression. We're making sure that he's getting stronger for his upcoming sports season. Fun isn't as his fun is results. Every week on this
That's
linear
a good point.
progression, he's seeing
Results.
himself get better. That's his fun. So it's all about kind of what stage of a lifter you're at, what you're looking to get out of it. And I'm running another session of the homeschool PE right now, right? I think I have 12 kids in it. It's great. And like they work really hard, as you saw. They're
Yeah,
working
for
really
sure.
hard, but they're with friends, they're having fun, they're joking. I try to keep it lighthearted. I don't force anybody to do anything. If you don't want to
Mhm.
do it, no problem. You don't have to do it. Like, and there's no judgment passed. I'm not going to judge you for that. That's okay.
Yep.
So that's kind of like a little bit more low key, laid back. But I think in the long run of things, that's how it should. Like, there's no need to. Like, people get this stereotype about gyms that it's like meatheads and
The
super
boot
serious, and
camp yelling at you.
we're
Yeah.
death metal and we're screaming at people. That is not it. That is not what we do.
Unless you want that, there are other gyms for that.
There are gyms for that. And like some people do seek that out, but it's not the majority of the population.
It's true. It's true. No, I mean, you gave a lot of great answers, and what it tells me is that there's not a one size fits all, right? Like everybody's way that they stick with something or find motivation differs. It might be in a group or in a semi-private situation where you have the community. It might be the one-on-one where they need that personal understanding from you as the coach, or what you said, like the trust factor and knowing their physiology and how they respond and their lifts and everything. It might be people working from home who just need guidance on programming, or they need guidance on whatever. There's a million ways, but at the end of the day, you hit the nail on the head when you said results, because I imagine if you had people coming in, you did all those things and they weren't making progress, they still wouldn't stick around, right?
Yes. No matter what, like you have to deliver on why they're there.
Yeah. And who was it? Somebody mentioned to me how, they go to the gym every day and they're just not enjoying it. I said, well, what are you doing? He's like, well, this is my routine. I'm like, well, tell me about the routine. Tell me about the load, Well, it's the same weights oh, okay. I got it. You're not making any progress. So it's just this boring, repetitive thing for you. All right. Try notching the weight up a little and see if you start to enjoy it more when you get
exactly. Stronger. Yeah. Give yourself a little bit of a struggle. Work for it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's such a great point. You work for it. You may not look forward to it beforehand, but you get in the gym and you do it, and you find out it's a lot of fun when you get that squat.
Absolutely, 100%. I agree.
And in a gym like yours, like you said, it's not competitive. It's everybody's kind of supporting each other no matter where you are. And I get that feeling of seeing somebody coming in for the first time, and I'm just so excited for them because I know what's ahead in their life. And I don't care if it's an empty bar. I'm like, look at you doing that, My mom squatting with just to a chair to get stronger now is exciting me. You know what I mean? Because she's going to get stronger. So
that's awesome. That's awesome that you got her moving and you got her doing something like that, because that's like huge for longevity.
Yeah. And you mentioned that earlier about why this is so important just for everything in your life. So what do I say? I always go off on tangents, Rome. So let me see what kind of questions I have for you. What about, you mentioned the kids. So there's more the athlete teenagers, right? Who it's not necessarily fun for the sake of fun. It's more the progress and competing, which then makes it fun. Let's say a kid came in and a parent wanted a certain outcome and the kid wasn't into it. Do you ever get that kind of situation? And then there's a way that you approach it so they embraced it? Yeah.
So I've had something similar in the past where the parent could pretty much like drag the kid in. It was like, he needs to be more active, and you're the person to make him be active.
Yep.
So in those situations, it's going through trying to find like exercises that the kid doesn't mind doing, having fun with it. And again, like I'm never going to yell at anybody. Like that's just not who I am. And I mean, I've coached you plenty of times. I am not the in your face yell at you. I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to have a conversation with you. I'm going to encourage you to work harder and do things. And most of the time, kids respond pretty well to that.
Yep.
But honestly, like if I was training somebody and the kid was like, I started crying, or was like, I don't want to do this, I'm going to talk to your parent and being like, I'm sorry, I'm not the person for you, because I'm not going to force your kid to do this. This is just not aligning with who I am.
Yeah. I was just curious about that.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah. All right. So as we got ready for this interview, you mentioned a term. I hadn't heard you use it before, but you talked about building a platform of strength.
Yep.
A platform of strength that can be universally applied to sports, life, health, through different stages, different styles of training. Now, we often talk about strength as a foundation for everything else. Like it's the foundation of fitness, and maybe that's what you mean. So I'm intrigued what platform of strength is. Tell us what that's about.
Yeah, no, that's foundation of strength, platform of strength. Very similar.
Okay.
I think, my personal opinion, lifting weights is going to help pretty much any aspect of your life. If you want to be stronger, you want to live a long time, you want a better quality of life, great. Those are the physical sides. You want to be more mentally, you want to be happier, you want to be sharper, like more mentally acute, you want the other cognitive benefits, lifting weights is going to help. So, I mean, yes, I own gyms. I've been in gyms my whole life. I believe in weightlifting, so I have a bias. But that platform of strength, if you are strong, only like no one's ever, I've said this before, you probably heard me say this, no one's ever said, man, I'm just too strong. I got to get weaker. Man, I wish I wasn't this strong. Like, no, strength is always a strength. Like strength is, what is it, Mark Bell? Strength is never a weakness.
Love it.
One of those, like, so that's what I mean by a platform of strength, and everything can be built from that. And I truly do believe that.
I do too, man. And the funny thing is, yes, you have a bias because you're a trainer, but you're also totally invested this, I can tell, for the rest of your life because you know how effective it is. And it's just completely aligned with how you help people. And I've gotten into that just from my personal transformation and now wanting to help others because I see this above everything else. It supersedes everything else in your life because anything you want to do gets improved by having a stronger, fitter body, right?
100%. I mean,
Yeah.
You got to live in this thing for the rest of your life. You might as well take care of it.
Absolutely agree. And live several extra decades, hopefully, with with all that strength to your trap bar deadlifting when you're 95. So
I hope so.
For sure, man. So one of the most common questions I always get is, how do you train, eat, fill in the blank after 40 or after 50? Like there's always these cutoffs. And I'm like, man, I'm 42. I'm not that old, right? So how do you adapt training styles to based on someone's stage in their life, based on their fitness level? How should their mindset, expectations, all these things evolve when it comes to strength training as they age? Like what are the extra factors that come into play?
Okay, so as you get older, your training volume is probably going to drop. You're going to need to recover more. Weight progressions probably won't move up as quickly. We're going to take less risks because injuries take a lot longer to recover from. A big thing that people miss is that, hey, whatever you do in the gym should be making you better outside of the gym. So if you're getting hurt lifting weights, we did something wrong.
Shout out to Felipe. I know Philip for a long time and I know how passionate he is about healthy eating and body strength. And that's why I chose him to be my coach. I was no stranger to dieting and body training, but I always struggled to do it sustainably. Philip helped me prioritize my goals with evidence-based recommendations while not overstressing my body and not feeling like I'm starving. In 6 months, I lost 45 pounds without drastically changing the foods I enjoy, but now I have a more balanced diet. I weight train consistently, but most importantly, I do it sustainably. If a scientifically sound, healthy diet and a lean, strong body is what you're looking for, Philip Pape is your guy.
I'm just a lot more cautious when I'm working with athletes that are aging. I mean, we're all aging. It's just, I mean, we all were teenagers at one point too, and you're a lot more resilient. Also, when I'm working with older people, we take in a lot more considerations of their limitations. How are your knees? How's your hips? You talked about your shoulder. How are your shoulders? What's our range of motions look like? So as a coach, there's way more of a checklist that I have to go down of just watching everything you're doing. Have you had surgeries in the past? Do you have any metabolic diseases? Do you have any other crazy things that I need to be aware of, that you have this nerve issue or whatever it is? And then I have to build something around that that's going to fit you the best.
Yeah, man. I like how straightforward you answer that question. Really, it does come down to recovery, right? And injury and rehab and all that stuff. It's so true. And I think a lot of people who are getting into it for the first time in their, say, 30s, like I did, you just want to be aware of that and be smart about it, but not use it as an excuse so much. You still want to push hard and train hard. But man, those CrossFit days especially really beat me up. And I know it's different than strength training.
I was going to say a big thing with that. So another thing that a lot of people make the mistake of is they want to copy someone else's program. Hey, I saw so and so do this, so I'm going to do it.
There you go.
Be like, well, what's your training age versus their training age? What's your training restrictions versus their and like you used to hear this a lot in Olympic weightlifting. I'm going to do this Bulgarian whatever program. Dude, you're not Bulgarian. You're not one of the top 1% athletes of that country, and you're not probably taking a lot of steroids. So that program is probably not going to fit you best. But go do it if you want. So like it's just you need something that's built for you. Don't just copy someone to copy them because you saw someone doing hip thrusts and now that's the thing that you're doing.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, and going back to what you said earlier, just starting with a simple progression cuts out all that complication anyway. All right, cool. So we talked about recovery. We talked about training as you age, keeping it simple, not copying other people's programs, especially because you're probably not taking PEDs and not from Bulgaria. So what is one or two of the biggest mistakes people do make when it comes to strength training? And maybe that's, again, something you're able to address when you're there as a trainer.
Ego is the number one thing, right? I saw this 17-year-old lifting that, and I'm 35, so I can lift that too. Mm-hmm. Maybe that 17-year-old's been lifting for 5 years and is pretty advanced, and this is day one for you. Like, so ego is the number one thing that gets people all the time. That's injuries come from ego.
Is that mostly men though?
Yes, yes, mostly men. Mostly men. And I will say for my teenage athletes, And kids, girls listen way better than boys. Like girls are like, I will do what you said, how you said it. I will move how you said. Where boys are like, I'm gonna put more weight on because
Yeah.
I want to put more weight. And you're like, oh, geez, here we go. So that would be number one. It would definitely be ego. Number two, I would say is just not sticking with it long enough.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I did this for 3 months and I didn't get the results I want. Okay. Like I don't know what you want. Like this is a lifelong journey. Like it takes a long time to put on muscle and really build size. I've been working on this forever. I mean, you
True.
probably when you joined the gym, I probably weighed about 175 pounds. So think 12 years later, I sit around like 225 or so. That's 12 years of lifting weights. Like that's and seriously lifting weights
For
and
sure.
eating and like pushing and like yes, it doesn't have to take that long, but like it takes a while, guys. Nothing's gonna happen in 1 month, 2 months, 3 months that's gonna be life changing. Or
Yeah,
maybe
I
it'll be
think they
life
say
changing with the end goal.
I think they say the average genetic limit for males something like 40 or 45 pounds over like 6 or 7 years of like injury-free hard lifting in your metabolic peak. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes. Yep,
and you
absolutely.
started. Fortunately, you started when you had all the testosterone in your 20s, so you got that benefit. That's why. Also, the nutrition, man. I mean, you talk about not sticking with it long enough. I mean, if you're lifting for 3 months and constantly trying to diet, that's also going to hold you back.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
So, I mean, nutrition is your jam, and you completely understand. Hey, I'm trying to lose weight. Well, most of the time, it's really hard to gain muscle while you're doing that. Like,
That's the
or
thing.
hey,
Yeah.
I'm trying to gain muscle, but I happen to put on all of this fat. I don't know what's happening. Yeah, that happens too.
Yeah.
But that's where we have that periodization of like bulk, 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 cut, 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 bulk, 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 cut, cut, cut. And yeah, there's shortcuts. I could talk to you about shortcuts with that, but then you start talking about hormones and peptides and stuff. So you start, I mean, that's the supplement game where you can get different results really quickly with legal things. It's not illegal by
Yeah.
any means. It's just a different take on it.
And and we'll get into that in a second for sure. Actually, I'll be just one more question about training, and
Yeah,
then I want to get into
of
like
course.
blood work and stuff. When people come to you for the first time, I imagine just like I see it on the nutrition side, all sorts of misconceptions, questions that are like, oh man, I know they've been watching some influencer, right?
Of course.
That they bring you. What are the real common ones you hear a lot these days?
I mean, I hear a lot about the kids stuff. I mean, everybody asks me, is it okay for kids to lift weights? That's the when you talk about youth training, that's the number one question. And the way I answer that is, I teach movement patterns. As long as we keep the weights under control and the movement patterns are correct, no one will get hurt. We don't really start to increase weights until kids hit puberty, because then, as you just said, they have all of the hormones, and then they get these crazy results that you're like, wow, that's amazing. I wish I could progress that quickly. So
And
that's
what
one of the
ages are
basics.
those generally? I mean, I know puberty can range, but
And
generally
it's
from boys and
typically
girls.
you're getting 13, 14-year-olds where I start like,
Yeah.
cool, let's get that linear progression going. Let's start
Yeah.
tacking on weights. Let's start moving this, and everybody's different. Some people will be younger. Some boys are 16, 17, and like they're just kind of late to puberty. They're late
Mm-hmm.
bloomers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, no problem. We'll get there when we get there. And I mean, you can see it. You can see like, hey, you can tell when someone doesn't have those hormones pumping because those weights don't change. It's always hard. Like I'm getting better. My movement patterns are getting better, but the weights aren't getting better. And then they all of a sudden start getting a little bit more testosterone in their system or more growth hormone in their system. And all of a sudden they're like, wow, coach, I'm getting really strong. Yeah, look at that. It's amazing.
It's awesome. We all wish we had that elixir injected into
100%,
us.
right? So that's one of the biggest common ones. And then everybody comes in, the first thing they want to talk about, rightfully so, is all of their injuries and all the reasons why they can't do the things. And mine is you can do the things. It's just a matter of how we're going to do
Mm.
them and the progressions that we take and like, I mean, you've been in the weight world long enough. There's 10 different variations of a squat I can pull out.
Yes.
I mean, and there's not one right answer. And okay, your knee hurts. I'm gonna have you squat like this. Okay, your back hurts. I'm gonna have you squat like this. Okay, your shoulder hurts. I'm gonna have you squat like like there's so many variations, and that's why people, if you have serious concerns, talk to a professional. Like talk to someone that knows what they're talking about, and they'll find
Definitely.
you the right answer.
That's the way to do it. And let me tell you, you have 4 limbs. So if you could use one of those, you can do something. That's
I've been watching your training too, Phil, that you've been putting up where you're recovering from your shoulder thing, and exactly to what you're doing. Hey, if I can't use my left arm, I'll use my right arm, and somehow my left arm's recovering. Look at that!
that's
And
right.
like,
That's
there's
right.
science to show that works.
That's right. The cross training effect. Yeah. I want to do a podcast on that. That's actually a good idea. Yeah. I was doing one arm deadlifts for a while too, which are
Awesome.
their own
That's
little,
the show.
yeah, but I'm glad I could use two arms again, because then the load goes way up.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, no. So those are really good ones, right? Is it safe for the kids to lift? I think that is a long held myth of, like, it's going to stunt their growth and all these ridiculous things.
Yeah.
And I know one of the best examples people say is, well, think about farmers' kids. Like from the time they're little, they're slinging hay bales and
Yeah.
they're doing all sorts of weightlifting naturally. They're not stunted, are they? They're nice and big and
No.
strong when they get older.
I mean, anybody that's
Yeah.
ever had a little kid that jumps off of their couch or jumps off of something and they land really hard, the amount of force that just went through their knees, hips, back is 1,000 times that of what they're going to be squatting.
Yeah,
Like,
it's true.
they're okay, I promise.
They're okay. Exactly. Yeah, and then not making the excuses when you come at the beginning of, well, I can't do all this because of my shoulder. There's a way. There's always a way.
Yeah. Just talk through the person,
Yeah.
explain what you have, and then be open to where they want to bring you.
Yep. Always seek out an expert for any of this stuff. The older you get, the more of these risks you have. They're not excuses, but you definitely need to have good counsel, good information, right?
100%.
So that's what we're saying. So an interesting area that you're more involved in now is with Ethos Medical in Avon, is using blood work, right?
Yep.
Working with a medical professional who can customize supplements, hormone treatments, really anything that kind of fills the gap. That's why I like to think of it. Fills the gap once your nutrition and lifestyle are where they need to be, because we don't want to use these as shortcuts. What is the importance of blood work and supplements as part of a fitness plan? How could people use those? Talk to us about it.
So the biggest thing with the blood work part,
Mm-hmm.
it's getting like a diagnostic for your car. We're getting to see how everything's functioning. So for a guy, how's your testosterone looking? What are all the other levels? I mean, even basic blood work for health purposes of cholesterol, blood lipids, all those things, they're all really important. For guys that are coming close to 40, what are your PSA levels looking like for prostate stuff? Like, these are important things to know. And a lot of times your general practitioner is just glossing over it, seeing if anything pops, and moving forward. And then, so talk about testosterone, right? Well, the average range is like 300 to 1,000. And if you're anywhere in there,
you're
your
quote unquote
PC,
normal, right? Yeah.
you're normal. You're good. I'm happy to be transparent and share my numbers. My numbers, testosterone number before supplementing was at 240.
Mm-hmm.
It was at 240, and it was there for years. I eat well. I exercise. I get sunlight. I go for walks. I sleep. I do all of the things, and I was still literally clinically low. Okay, so I got my blood work done. Kristen is who runs Ethos. We worked together, and we came up with a plan. So what I do is I get my blood work done every 8 weeks. I am taking supplements through her. One of them being TRT, which is testosterone. And at last blood work I got done, my testosterone was at 980. You want to talk about like lifestyle changes of like how much happier I feel, how much more energy I feel, and never mind strength gains and muscle gains. Like, it makes a big difference.
Man, yeah, I think I need to get my blood checked.
It's a game changer, man. It really
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. What about, so for men, it's pretty straightforward with the TRT, the free test and all that. For women, so I've learned a lot about this through nutrition now with the progesterone, the DHEA, the testosterone, the estrogen. I understand a lot of that stuff it's difficult to measure through blood work, and you need like urine and saliva and other types of tests. Do they do that as well? You guys do that?
So I'm going to completely defer that to Kristen.
Okay. All right. You didn't know I'd grill you about all that. Okay.
And like, yes, I am involved with Ethos, but she's really the person. So like any of that stuff, I can talk about my own personal experience.
Yeah.
But higher level stuff, I gotta defer to her.
Yeah. So what would you recommend for just the average person, both men and women, to do? Like, if their fitness and nutrition aren't quite where they need to be, can they still pursue the blood work and the supplements kind of in parallel? What's the thought there?
I would say yes. Only yes. Should you dial in your food? Yeah. Should you dial in your exercise? Yes. But checking to see what's going on under the blood work, one, might motivate you a little bit more when you really get a big picture. Oh man, I didn't know I was in this poor of health. Or
Mhm.
maybe, hey, I'm actually in pretty decent health. So one, it could serve as a motivational factor. And two, if you're as like low as I was with testosterone, it's really hard to get results. And if you're new to this, you might find it really frustrating. And you might feel like you're beating your head against this wall over and over again. where getting your levels regulated is going to put you into a place where you're getting the results that you should be getting, because your hormones are regulated. And that's where, like, I don't compete in any sports anymore. It's not like I'm being drug tested for this stuff. And even if I was, like, hey, listen, I'm clinically low. Like,
Yep.
I'm bringing myself to a level playing field at this point.
I agree, man. What I've learned about TRT is just that we are, as a population of men, and this is a problem for women too, just like you said, clinically lower than we need to be. And oftentimes it's not even clinically low. It's just, you might even have symptoms, right? Even if you're at like 3 something.
100%.
Yeah. And the doctor's like, oh, that's normal. Cause I've heard both sides of the coin of, like, if you have symptoms and the blood work doesn't show it, the symptoms are important. If you don't have symptoms, but you're clinically low, that's important as well. Right. So
Yep.
everybody's going to need some form of replacement probably at some age for the rest of their life, I would think.
And there's always this, like, big stigma with dudes for testosterone. But how many people do you know, ladies that are on a thyroid med? Well, guess what? They're on that. That's a hormone, and they're on that hormone med for the rest of their lives. Because the biggest thing I hear about testosterone, I don't want to get started because I'm gonna have to be on it forever. Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a hormone that you're
declines with age. It's never going to come
what it
back.
is. I mean, again, just speaking from my personal experience, if there was going to be, I mean, I guess the number one supplement that I recommend is creatine, because I believe everyone under the sun should be using creatine. But if you really want the most effective supplement, it would be testosterone, at least
Yeah.
from my personal experience.
Yeah. And what would, so at Ethos, what does that look like? You just, do you make an appointment? How does that work to get
Go online, go to our website, ethosmedicalaesthetics.com, right? .com. So go to our website, and just go through and schedule a wellness consult. So all you're going to do is you're going to sit down with Kristen.
This is only local for local. It's not an online
local.
thing. Yeah. So
So
just
it's
you have
just
to be in the
online.
Connecticut area. Yeah.
So if you want to do peptides, you could do this online. You can't get testosterone, but you can do peptides,
Okay.
and peptides can do magical things as well. Like anything from immune system stuff to muscle gaining stuff, and you don't need to do an in-person consult for peptides, just for hormones.
Okay.
And that's with state regulations and things like that. And I do take peptides as well. Again, I can't really dive too much on the science side of that. I'd have to defer to Kristen for that. But there's peptides that can do magical stuff. So, like, you want to talk about, like, rehabbing your shoulder? I know people that have used peptides and cut down the recovery period in half because their body now is producing more growth hormone and now it's healing faster. And that's where there's some science and some stuff that is now available to people that wasn't previously, that can really change how quickly you can get results. And also, what do you need it for? Are you sick all the time? It's winter, COVID's coming around, whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, look at some of these answers. Or someone like yourself, I just had surgery. I want to get back to play faster. Okay, we can look at these things. And again, talk to a medical professional. We're a private practice, so we listen a little bit more, and we don't use insurance, so we can take our time and really work with somebody versus going to a primary care and you have 10 minutes. And as long as you're not dying, get out.
I have little to no faith in PCPs anymore. Just so you know, you're preaching to the choir on that. Like, I've met very few that are worth anything. I'm sorry to say, and if you're listening and you are, and you're a good one, then great. We need more of you out there, especially for women's health care. I feel like there's this gaslighting everywhere all the time, and I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just what they learned in medical school, and that's all they know. And they open the root cause book, and it's like, you have this is the answer, and then you move on. But hormones is still kind of in its nascent period here. We had Dr. Rand McClain on. You know Dr. Rand McClain? He's pretty big in peptides and TRT. He's out of California. In an early episode, he also talked about peptides as well. And I get it. They're proteins, right? They're just proteins.
Yep.
But a lot of them can do interesting things. So we're definitely going to throw that in the show notes so they can check it out. Is there any scenario where somebody needs intervention beyond lifestyle, beyond what you've already talked about with the TRT, with what any other supplementation, I guess, is what I'm getting at.
I mean, you probably see me say this all the time. Eat more protein. Use that as your supplement. Eat more protein liquids. That's it, man.
That's 99% of it. Cool, man. What's next for Romeo Athletics?
So Avon, I'm in my Avon location right now. The goal is to grow Avon as much as we can, help as many people here as we can. And if this gets to the point where I can launch another one, I'll do it. But I mean, our goal is, as it's always been, I personally enjoy working with people in person. So we are an in-person coaching facility. It's either private or semi-private for the most part. We offer a couple group classes here and there, but for the most part, it's semi-private and private training. And that's who we are. That's what we do. And my goal is to help as many people as we can help. And really, I really like, I don't know if you've seen this recently. I really like how many ladies are coming in and saying, like, I feel like I just need to lift weights. Like
Awesome.
something has changed in the world where
It's
people are
true.
like recognizing like lifting weights is important. And it's amazing and it's awesome. And it makes me really excited because I have fought this fight for so long of being like, I promise you won't get bulky. I promise you're not going to get crazy biceps and from like, I promise, like,
Yeah.
unless you really want to. But like,
Yeah,
so
because it's
I'm
hard
really
for us
excited.
dudes to do that. That's the way I always say it. It's hard for us dudes to get big and bulky.
Like, I have lifted weights for forever, and to get big and bulky is impossible
Yeah.
unless you take a lot of drugs.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right, man. It's true. I mean, I haven't been in the business very long, but even I see plenty of women saying like, "How do I build muscle? How do I build muscle?" And it's great. It's a
Well,
great thing. How do I fuel? How do I build muscle and strength instead of cutting and dieting? Let's build muscle.
I mean,
Cool,
I
man.
think they're all of a sudden getting too. People are getting, hey, muscle is also increasing my metabolism.
Yeah.
So then in turn, I'm going to lose more fat, and I can eat more stuff and get away
Yeah.
with stuff now. Like, I mean, my basic thing: lift weights, eat protein. Go do
That's what
that.
it's about. That's it. We're gonna. Well, I do have to ask one more question that I ask
Yeah.
of all guests. And I'm not gonna leave you off the hook with this, and it sometimes throws people off. But
Okay.
what is a question you wish I had asked, and what is your answer?
Question I wish you would ask. I don't know. I mean, professional, personal. I mean, you could ask anything about lifting weights. What's your favorite lift? What's this? What's that? Or on the family side, anything on that side. I'm an open book, dude. As you know, you can ask me anything. Um,
Yeah, it's more for you to tell me what you wish I'd asked. But let's go with a lifting. Let's go with a lifting question. Yeah. So you talked about your routine now. What does that look like in terms of like loads and progression scheme?
sure. Like loads, you want specific numbers or
If
like
you want, if you want,
I don't
it's
care,
up to
man.
you. Yeah.
Uh, like squatting. I probably squat weekly. I don't know, in the like low fours. Sometimes I'll push it up a little bit. My best squat ever was in the mid fives, like 550. At
I think
this
I've seen you
point,
do one of those. Yeah.
yeah, it's at this point it's too heavy.
Yeah.
Just walking that out on your back, it's just a lot of spinal compression. There's a lot that comes with that that people don't realize. When you start pushing those weights up, like you feel it, like your knees feel it, your hips feel it, your back feels it. Even if you have all the musculature to support it, I've been really trying not to squat with belts and stuff just
Mm-hmm.
recently because like I'm getting strong and like
Mm-hmm.
I could lift decent amount of weights. I don't need to really belts for that. I really like the Kabuki benching bar.
Mm.
It makes it harder, but like I really like it. And
Is
then
that
it
at
kind
an
of brought
angle or is it perfectly neutral?
yeah. So go for a walk. Let's see how the thing works. Right, I'll show you. Um, you guys get a little tour of the gym.
Yeah. For the people on audio, we're walking through the
So
facility
this bar.
and it's the Kabuki bar. Yeah. Okay. So it's kind of like a curved bar with multiple neutral angles. There
Yeah.
you go.
So the
So slight
idea,
angles. Yeah.
yeah. So you get that like neutral grip for the slight angle, and then it makes you go a little bit deeper.
Yep.
So I'm a big fan of that. I
It's
really
cambered.
like.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm sorry I flipped your question on you a little
No,
bit.
no,
Where I
no.
made you ask me another
That's fine.
question.
You're the only one I'll let do that to me. No, I'm just kidding. Uh, no, that's cool. People are always interested in this stuff. You know, years ago, you had me squatting with the. Now this was in the CrossFit days, but we were doing like I guess they were like rack squats, you'd call them, to kind of overload before doing the
Yep.
main squats. Do you still do stuff like that for your squat?
Um, Me personally, not as
Yeah.
much. I mean, like I'll probably end up doing. I don't know if you do Squattober or not. So exercise fitness company called Sornex, the major fitness supplier. They run a free program every October called Squattober. And you squat 5 days a week, and they definitely bring in a bunch of different squatting patterns. If I was focused on driving my squat number up, yeah, I would do rack squats. I would take shit from the bottom. I would hit different depths. So biggest, honestly, one of the exercises that not a lot of people know about that I really like for getting your squat number up, Hatfield squats. Are you familiar
Mm.
with the Hatfield squat? So,
Remind me what it is.
sure. So Hatfield
Mm.
squat, think safety squat bar. Boom. So
Okay.
I use the Kabuki one. So it just sits on your shoulders. I don't even have to hold it. So it just sits there.
Mhm.
Walk it out. You have handles that you're holding on to. Squat down, drive up, holding onto those handles. Typically, you can overload that. So I think it's an overloaded eccentric by a good margin, man. Like I've squatted over 600 using a Hatfield squat.
Oh,
And
so
you
that's
can,
interesting. Oh, hold on. Now I'm really curious because I've been using safety bar exclusively because of my shoulder because I can't get the grip around for the normal squat.
yep.
You're saying you could load a lot more by just holding the rack in front of you? Do you have to have special handles?
I mean, I put pins in, so I'm holding
Okay.
here, but you can
Yeah.
hold the rack here just like that, and you
Yep.
can still, because now on your way up, you're getting a little bit of your lats
That's
engaged,
right.
your biceps
Taking the
engaged,
load,
you're
yeah.
pulling yourself up, so you can get an overloaded eccentric on that, and your squat will go through the roof.
How does that feel on your back?
Awesome.
Okay.
All good. All
Okay, now
good.
you just gave me something new to try. Oh man.
That is like one of my favorite, like normal squatting things, because everybody, when people look at squatting, they're always like, oh, it wasn't below parallel or this or that, and being like,
Sure.
listen, man, the below parallel thing came from powerlifting. That's where that came from, because they had to set a standard to measure success by. I don't care if you squat below parallel or not. I want you to squat to where your best movement pattern is. Does your knee hurt? Does your hip hurt? Does your back hurt? This is, you can't judge it because my hands are holding onto something. But check it out. See what you think. And if so, every safety squat bar is different. If yours doesn't hit that right angle, swing up to the gym, because mine. So I have the Kabuki one where it can adjust.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it can
yeah.
be,
The transformer
so
bar, right?
yeah, I have the transformer bar up there, so you can come in, adjust the transformer bar, come check it out and see what you think.
Cool, man. I'm gonna try that out. So does that make it more quad dominant when you do that?
Because you'll sit back into your hammies. So like,
Sit
hold
back.
on,
Okay.
sit
More
back
like a
into
pitch
your hammy
shark. More like a pitch shark angle, right?
just like a
Yeah.
pitch
Okay.
shark. But rather than the bar being on your hips
Cool.
or the belt being on your hips, it's on your shoulders.
I like that idea because this typical safety squat bar movement is slightly more like a front squat, right? It's a little more quad dominant. So that to get us more in the back, like the low bar that I love and miss right now. So
I've been very fortunate that I've pretty much always used that Kabuki bar, so I don't even know what like a traditional safety squat bar feels like, because I'm always adjusting angles and playing with
sure.
things. So I've just been fortunate in that regard.
Cool, man. Well, this has been a fun conversation, all sorts of different directions. I hope the listener got a lot out of it. I know they did. Yeah, I know they did, man. And the last question, of course, where do you want people to find you?
Find me at romeoathletics.fitness, ethos medical aesthetics.com, Instagram romeo.aj, or Romeo Athletics or romeoathletics.avon. I don't know. I got a million places.
I know you do. I'll keep it simple in the show notes. I'll keep it to like one.
Google me. You'll
so
find
people
me
can
there.
find you. That's right. All right, Andrew Romeo, man, it's always been a pleasure. It's awesome to be in your circle and know you, and it was a fun conversation. So thanks for coming on.
No, thanks for having me. I'm always super proud to see your progressions, man. You've done some big things, and it's awesome to see you help so many people.
Yeah, man, it started with you, to be honest. So we're all just paying it forward, which is what we want to do.
I love it.
All right, man. Thanks for coming on.
Of course.